here we are. We're almost at the end of the class, and there's some very interesting things to talk about. I was told last week that somebody thought my class was simple or easy because it's just introduction to the internet. How hard can that be, right? Everybody gets on. We know how to browse the web. We know how to use our phones. Like, we know all this stuff. So it should be easy. And it is kind of easy. Like, that stuff's pretty easy. The thing that most people don't realize is all this technology comes with impacts. Like, technology just doesn't happen in a void. Things change. And this week, we're going to look at a couple of things that have really been disruptive, that are really disruptive technologies, which are my favorite kind because they're so interesting. We have two main topics this week. Well, three topics. One I don't really go into that much because I think it's pretty basic, but it's on the calendar. So we'll talk about it a little bit. There's a GCF learning thing about online shopping. So our whole theme this week is getting things done on the internet. Okay. So online shopping, probably most of us have bought something off of Amazon or bought something, like, especially in the last few months, like you're buying all kinds of stuff online and having it delivered. The GCF Learn tutorial has some good tips and tricks to make sure that your credit cards are safe, to make sure that you get what you're looking for. There's even some tips for how to do a few things like buy a house online. Like, who would have thought, right? There are all kinds of interesting things. But where I really want to focus are in two different areas. One area is going to be IoT, the Internet of Things. It's this whole idea of a connected house or a connected car, or like you have Siri, or you have Hey Google, or you have Alexa, or, there's all kinds of things, right? And you just talk to them. And we've probably all heard stories of, a bunch of packages arriving from Amazon because somebody's kid ordered a whole bunch of, who knows what, toys, right? Because they just said, hey, Alexa, order me the next Lego set. And then it shows up. That's kind of interesting and a little bit irritating, depending on your budget. But the things I want to really dive into are some good impacts of all of that technology. Another area that we're going to look at is the sharing economy. Now, what is that? Like, we were taught when we were kids that you're supposed to share stuff, right? Like, share your toys, share your balls, share your crayons. It's kind of sort of like that, but it's really more useful. Well, I mean, that's useful too. But this idea of like eBay and Airbnb and Uber, like, I'm sure you can think of probably 50 different things. Instacart is going great, right? It's this whole idea that the internet and a website is an intermediary between me and you. Like, you have something that I could use and I have something that I need. So for instance, in Uber, you have a car, you've got nothing else to do for a period of time, and I need a ride somewhere. So I use the Uber app and it just connects me up to you. I say, hey, I need to go from here to here at this time. And Uber says, oh, okay, this guy's closest. And so the internet isn't providing the service, they're providing the platform so that we can connect on the service. And there's lots of examples of that. So let's jump into a screen share. Let me show you around what we've got going on this week. And you're going to notice, compared to previous weeks, it's not going to look like there's a lot of stuff here, but that's on purpose because I want you to dig in really deep. But the thing I want you to spend some time in, normally most videos I give you are pretty short. Like, I'm thinking the longest is probably one of my videos, like 15 minutes. This video is 45 minutes long. I listened to it last night. Oh my gosh, so interesting. Francine Berman is a professor at Harvard University, and her whole field of research is the Internet of Things and how it impacts society. She gives some context, like the first 10 minutes of this is fabulous. Like, the whole thing's good. The first 10 minutes is really good. And then she uses this example of self-driving cars. So what's that have to do with the Internet of Things? Watch it, because it's way more complex. We're talking about issues of privacy, security, safety, lots of things. What if somebody hacks into your car, your self-driving car, while you're driving it, while you're a passenger in it? There's a new show on, and somebody got killed because their self-driving car drove off a bridge because somebody hacked into it and reprogrammed it. and the person in the car had like couldn't do anything. There was like no brakes, no steering wheel, no nothing, right? So all this weird stuff could happen. Anyhow, this is a really good talk. So I want you to dig in deep. And then the last video on here is a TED Talk. And word of warning right up front, there's some mature language in here. She curses a little bit. So just filter it through that if you need to watch, if you're going to watch this. But she actually, for 2 months, completely had her house wired as a smart home, her little apartment. She had I think a 1-bedroom apartment in San Francisco, completely wired it. This guy, I think, is a network engineer. He helped her get it all connected up because she was really curious, like how much interaction goes back and forth between your devices and the mothership, wherever that is. What she found was interesting and a little bit disturbing. So this is a short video. It's about 9 minutes. Again, she's got some mature language in there, so you want to just be aware of that. For the Learn section, I've got some GCF tutorials. On the buying and selling stuff online, it's one of those ones that's part of a much longer set of tutorials. So if you just keep clicking through it, there's like 24 tutorials, and it's all good stuff. But the part that's relevant to what we're doing this week is number 1 through 7. So you can either click this link and then go, just click through it. I'll let you decide on that. The one that's interesting is the sharing economy. And on this one, I go into a little bit of detail about the sharing economy. And what your assignment is to find a resource, a web page, a video, an article, something, news broadcast, something that talks about this whole idea of the sharing economy. So let's take Airbnb for an example. Like I have stayed at a lot of Airbnbs. And in some areas like Los Angeles, the city has actually put a tax, and I think Anaheim's another one, down by Disneyland. The city's put a tax on Airbnb rentals, like a hotel tax, because they want to collect that. And in some areas, they've actually restricted the ability for a homeowner to rent out their house for lots of interesting reasons. And it changes the neighborhood. People are kind of in and out all the time. Houses are getting bought up to flip over into Airbnb properties instead of being available for rentals, like family rentals. So that's tightening up the rental market. There's just lots of interesting options. But for people like me, we do a big event a couple of times a year with a bunch of students. And we always rent a big Airbnb house because we can have everybody stay in the same place. We can go grocery shopping and buy, food for meals, which is way cheaper than if we had everybody stay in a hotel and had to go eat at restaurants. So for us, it's a real benefit. But for the neighborhood or for the city, there might be some disadvantages. The sharing, and Airbnb is just one example. There's all kinds of examples. So your goal is to go find something that talks about some of these impact questions. And I list a few here, okay? So for example, who is impacted for better or worse? What are the financial impacts? Are there any, has it disrupted any industries? Just think through these questions. Here's the catch on this assignment. This is a first come, first serve, okay? You're gonna post this with your responses, but you can't post a link, a resource that somebody else has used already. So you have to go back through the channel, make sure your thing is an original one. Nobody can have used it already. And then write out your responses. This is not a quickie response, okay? So you need to find something and think about it in context of what impact it has. The other catch is you have to find something that has been published in the last year. Don't find some 5-year-old article on eBay or about eBay. Find something that's current. And I can tell you that the current situation with the pandemic has actually flipped some, like, think about it, Airbnb, who's traveling these days? Like nobody's traveling, right? Although my cousin right now is staying at an Airbnb on her way down here to visit. So it's not that nobody's traveling. It's just it has really disrupted international travel for sure. And in a lot of cases, travel within the country and within the state. And so I'm sure there's plenty of good things to find on there. lots of impact things. So that's your goal. This one's worth 30 points. That's worth a little bit more than my normal 20. But there's a lot there to dig into, okay? And keep in mind on Discord, I think you're limited to, I want to say 2,000 characters. Try not to go over that. Try to say what you're going to say. Try to cover all the points. Try to make it nice and concise. But if you have to, just make a second post. But I would recommend writing it up in something else first, because then you can copy it over. That's always easier to type in that, and then you don't lose stuff. So it occurred to me that I should tell you something. I keep bringing up all these issues like, oh no, the internet's listening to you. What are you going to do? Safety, security, all of this stuff. It doesn't mean I hate the internet. I love the internet. I'm on the internet all day, like every day, all day long. I just attended a conference that normally gets held in Heidelberg, Germany, that's sponsored by UC Berkeley. There's no way I could have gone to Germany, right, for this conference. And so they held it online over the course of 4 days in Zoom. It was fabulous. I was able to connect with people. I can't even tell you how exciting it was. I was able to connect with people that I would never have been able to talk to. Some of these people are giants in the field of educational technology and computational thinking and computer programming. And it was so exciting. A little sidebar, if you play Minecraft, contact me, because the UC Berkeley campus is built in Minecraft. Okay, they held graduation there in May or June, whenever it was, because they couldn't come to campus, and they're going to do freshman orientation in there. And so I went on a tour of this Minecraft UC Blockley, is what they're calling it. And it was super cool, super cool. So message me if you're interested in that. Anyhow, I think the internet's fantastic. I think it's wide open. I think there's lots of possibilities, but I think there's also a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot to know to be safe and secure, to use it well. So that's my, so I don't want you to think it's all conspiracy theory. It's a lot of really cool, fun, interesting stuff. And the Internet of Things is one of the coolest things. You know, one last example I'll give you is that I saw this at the Consumer Electronics Show, is what if you had a refrigerator? So you know how you go to the grocery store and you forget, like, oh, do I have any lettuce? And then you either don't and you go home and you need some, or you go buy a bunch of lettuce thinking you don't have any, and you go home and there's some in the drawer, right? I mean, that happens. So this connected refrigerator is connected to an app on your phone so that you can kind of dial up, you know, open up the app and see what's in your fridge, and have your fridge tell you, hey, you're out of milk. Hey, you need more lettuce. You know, hey, don't forget to buy, you know, cheese, whatever. That would be super useful, unless somebody hacked into it. And that might be kind of weird. So there's always like pros and cons to all this technology, which is what makes it super, super interesting and fun. So have a good week. Enjoy those videos. I can't wait to talk to you guys about it and see what you're posting.